Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you, Melissa?
I am doing good. Although I will say, oh, hold on one second. I need to cut this volume off. So today it's the very first snow here in Cincinnati.
Oh my gosh,
And
it's snowing here
that sounds
too.
like exciting, right? Like, oh, snow, beautiful. I am not a fan of snow. So I'm like, no. Summer's like officially over.
I know it was snowing here as well, and I looked out my window and I just paused for like a moment, and I was talking with Frankie, who is in South Africa, and he's like, "Well, like what is she doing?" I'm like, "It's snowing." Like I don't know what it is about the first snow, but Ohio people are just weird about it.
Right. It's the end. I feel like it's the end of the perception that summer's still here, right? Like I'm well aware that fall is in between summer and winter, but here in
Yeah.
Cincinnati, in the all four seasons within one day. So there's
Yes,
always the chance that it'll still be warm until it starts snowing.
that is
Then you
true.
just give up all hope.
We just never know, right? Yeah, yeah.
You just never know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. I was like, "Oh, it's snowing today." It stopped now, right? But who knows? Who knows?
It is still going here
Okay.
in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I'm not really is that if it snows like a dusting, drivers react as if there's like 14 feet.
Oh yeah.
Nobody knows how to drive in the
Yeah.
snow.
There could be black
And
ice.
which is a real threat, which is a real threat. 100%, a
Yeah.
100%. That is
Yeah.
a real threat.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Gosh.
if you are joining with us, first of all, thank you. But pop in the chat where you're from and let us know where the weather is there. Is it snowing like it is here in Ohio, or do you get heat and great weather like Frankie in South Africa? Makes me kind of jealous.
No. I'm really curious to know. Okay, so today
And I'm
we're
also really
oh, go ahead,
good.
Melissa.
No, I was just going to say I'm really excited about our topic for today. So go ahead and let us know.
All right, so today we're going to be diving deep into the 8 parts, which is another Edu protocol. So we're still in that Edu protocol kind of season, exploring all the protocols that there are to kind of offer, at least some of them. And again, we've got that app battle. And so there was a pretty big battle, right, with boxing. And so now we've got me and Melissa going at it. So you guys better watch out, right, because we're ready to fight. And my name is Stephanie. If you haven't met me yet, I'm a teaching and learning coordinator at CAMI, and then I'm alongside the wonderful Melissa.
Hello, darlings. My name is Melissa Kincaid, and I am a technology trainer administrator at Cincinnati Public Schools, which is a fancy way of saying that I just organize and support teachers around how they use our suite of technologies in their classroom. It's really cool.
And she does so much more than that.
Well, as every teacher, every educator does so much more. So
That
shout
is
out to
true.
the educators.
That is true. So our goals for today is you already met us. So that is checked off the list. We're going to go really quickly of what is an app battle if you're joining for the exact first time today. We're going to talk about 8 parts and what is 8 parts if you've never heard of this Edu protocol. And then Melissa and I have about 7 minutes, but usually I don't shut her off because I'm just sitting here like taking notes and learning so much about the Adobe Express or Cami or whatever tool she decides to use. And then we'll give you resources and your next steps. So, what is an app battle?
So I am really excited if you're here for the first time. Let me just tell you really quickly what an app battle is. So it sounds like it's kind of like a battle, but really it's just a chance for us to show you a high impact teaching strategy and how you can use more than one app in teaching that strategy. And sometimes one of the apps is going to be best for you because you have access to it or because it just works better in your like teaching practice, Or maybe you app smash both of them. That's cool too. But it is just a time for us to concentrate on how to teach well and the many tools that are available for teaching that strategy.
Yeah. So Melissa always loses. So let's just start there, right? So
Lies. I'm pretty sure that I won last time. I'm just going to toss that out there.
I try to go on with the subject, right? So, what is 8 parts, right? So, 8 parts is typically a strategy for ELA teachers. However, we know Melissa comes with that strong math background. So, I don't know if she's changed it up or if she decided to swoop in with the ELA strategies. We're going to find out today. But what basically it is there's 8 parts of speech. You've got your verbs, you've got your nouns, you have your adjectives, pronouns, and then sometimes you can even jump in and have your students create a simile. And what they do is they brainstorm first. So students are brainstorming around this 8 parts area, and then they pick at least one from each category to provide in their description. So they're going to write a paragraph describing something or telling a story or however your students kind of go about it. But there's a twist. With the 8 parts, with the paragraph, there's also some type of photo. So just like these two frogs, this is what the students are writing about. So they have an image, they come up with their 8 parts, their 8 words. It's actually more than 8 words because there's sometimes more in a category. And then we really want them to choose at least one word from each category to include in their paragraph. Right? 8 parts is hard. So it's also spiral review. Students are able to start to get more creative. The more that they rinse and repeat, the more repetition that is done with this activity, we hope that their words get really stronger as they're learning this concept. All right, so you ready, Melissa?
I am ready. Did you bring the dice for us to roll to see who goes first?
Well, I have something different today.
Oh.
So I've got a orange marker and I've got a blue marker. Which one do you want to be?
Who day? Orange all day.
Okay, so Melissa's orange. I'm going to be blue. I'm going to put these behind my back and shuffle them up a little bit. Uh-oh, one fell.
Oh, she's cheating already, y'all. Y'all see that?
I am cheating already. All right, so do you want the left or the right?
Oh. Let's go to the left, to the left.
All right, blue wins.
Oh, that means you get to choose.
Okay, I'll let you go first.
Okay, I am ready. So let me bring up my slide deck here. And there is a bit.ly, so definitely feel free to, hi Tara, so definitely feel free to follow along with me if you would like. I am going to pivot a little bit today to talk about teaching math with 8 parts. So like Stephanie said, the 8 parts EDGE protocol is 100% geared towards language arts, right? It's the 8 parts of speech. And I read that, knew that I was preparing for this app battle and was like, how can I get hashtag math with this one? Because you guys know me and you guys know that I love mathematics. So I did a little bit of digging and I was like, what is essentially is the reason behind the 8 parts of speech in ELA? And one thing that it said that stuck out to me was that it helped students to understand how a word functioned and how they could use that in a sentence. So that got me thinking, well, in math, we're always wanting for students to be more flexible with numbers. We want you to understand what the number 2 is when it's in the ones place, when it's in the tens place, when it's behind a decimal, when it's on top of a fraction, when it's in a function, and so on and so on and so on. So I sat down and I asked myself, well, what are those kind of pieces that we're always wanting for students to know when it is in terms of numbers? And funny enough, in my jotting things down, at the end of it, I counted them all up and there were 8. So I did think that that was kind of funny. So here are our 8 parts, or teaching the 8-part strategy with math. Okay. So these are 8 things that we're going to keep in mind as we're teaching students mathematics in order to help them to be a little bit more flexible with numbers. So we're going to look at and we're going to see some templates, by the way, too, so you can see how this looks and how students can look at these 8 parts of one numbers. But first of all, place value. Place value is huge. Kind of like I said before, it's actually a big deal for students to understand that the number 7 is not always 7. It can be 7, it can be 70, it can be 7 million. So for them to understand place value is huge. We also want them to be able to see the magnitude of a number. Let me compare that 7. What is 10 more than 7? What's 10 less than 7? Is 7 more or less than 2? We also want kids operating with numbers, so being able to take numbers and combine them or deconstruct them or put them in equal groups or have equal size groups and see what would that total, all of our mathematical operations. Now, when I say properties of numbers, what I mean by that is for a student to look at a number and be able to break it down in different ways. Is it even? Is it odd? Is it a prime number? Is that number divisible by 3? What are the multiples and factors of that number? So really being flexible in what that number means. And the purpose of all these, by the way, just like the 8 parts of speech, help for students to understand how that word is functioning in a sentence or in a paragraph. These 8 parts of looking at numbers help students to understand how that number is functioning in any operation or any contextual situation. It really helps them with their problem solving and being able to be flexible and understand numbers better and more. Excuse me. Number 5 is number sense. A student being able to look at a number and understanding how would I estimate where that number is, or estimate operations, or also how would I round that number to a different place. Can really tell a lot about a student's number sense if they're able to round, actually, which is kind of interesting. Next is a real world application. There are some times where we're just working with mathematics, just with the numbers, but a lot of the times we want the students to be able to see those numbers in context and problem solving situations. So we want to bring that to our 8 parts and have them looking at how is this number operating inside of context. Next is the category, and this gets into students that may be a little bit older, but students being able to understand, is that a whole number, or is that a rational number, or is that a fraction or decimal? Because when they can understand what type of number that is, then they understand the rules of how it's operating. Adding with fractions is different than adding with whole numbers, which follows different rules when you're adding with negative numbers, when you're adding with integers. So for students to be able to identify what category that number falls into, they'd be able to know the rules around operating with that number. And then lastly, can the students represent that number in an expression, equation, or a picture? They understand what the number 5 would look like as a picture. And also, do they understand what the number 5 would look like as an expression? Being able to write 4 plus 1 or 3 plus 2. All of these are ways for students to break down how they're looking at numbers and be flexible with them so that they can be better problem solvers and do a little bit deeper learning. Now, I also added to this slide deck a look at 8 parts for our high school learners, because they're not necessarily looking at a number in its components, but they are looking at expressions, equations, and functions and their components. So there are other ways that you can use the 8 part strategy, even if you're in a high school. And I would argue that it is very, very important for students to be able to be flexible with those functions. I can see y equals 3x plus 2 as a equation, and students being able to tell me exactly how that graph is behaving, how it changes from the parent function of y equals x. That really says a lot about the student's deeper understanding of how that function is behaving. So I added that to the slide deck too. Now, because I only have 7 minutes and I want to make sure that I stay as on track as possible, let me show you an example of a template that you can use if you're using the 8 part strategy within your math class. And we are going to give good vibes to my computer because it has been going slow all day today, y'all. And I've been trying to tell it, if I have to work, you have to work. Come on now. Come on, computer. And these templates are also in your the slide deck that I shared, there's a little link that says get the templates here. I used Adobe Express for these templates because I think that it is really easy to add high quality graphics. The templates that I can find in Adobe Express are very, very easy to find and simple. I actually found the base of this template in Adobe Express by just searching 8 parts. And it wasn't that I felt that I would be able to find an 8 part strategy within Adobe Express already, but I knew that I could find a graphic organizer that had 8 sections. So it was easier for me to transfer that into what I needed. So here's an example of how my 8 part strategy, a graphic organizer that would use that 8 part strategy if I was looking at a number. I have my number up here and I'm asking students all different things about that number. What is it in expanded form? Is it greater than or less than this number? Can you draw it as a picture? Can you look at its factors and so on? This one graphic tells me so much about what that student knows about that one number. And because it's sized 8.5 by 11, you can print it out if you want to do it offline. You can save some time and some resources if you keep it online. You know, it's a little bit more environmentally friendly if you do it digital. But you can also hold that in a folder or keep that in the classroom. You don't have to do all of this in one day, right? This could be your warm up for the day. Today you're writing an expanded form, or today you're identifying if it's a whole number or a fraction. So you can kind of streamline that or expand that, I should say, over various days. Also, by doing it with Adobe Express, it's really easy to share and print off as like a poster. Like once you're done with this, you can print as a poster and use that to showcase student work in your classroom. You can do all sorts of things by doing things digital. You can really do something once and then use it in multiple different ways. And then here's an example of how that 8 parts would look if you were looking at a function. So this would be a high school example. Again, having students really look at how that function is behaving, how it looks as a table, a graph, or an equation. And those assets are already included in Adobe Express. So this graph, which this 10 to -10 graph is actually the most common one that we use in Algebra 1, that asset is already in Adobe Express. And then I just put those blank templates in there for you because I have my remix button. One of my favorite things about Adobe Express, you can create something and then save it as a remixable link. Now, when you're sharing it with your students, you can actually just assign it in Classroom. It's a new feature in Adobe Express. If you have not used Adobe Express Classroom, you are missing out because you can see all of your students work in real time. And it is fabulous and awesome. All right, Stephanie, did it go over my 7 minutes? Maybe
Just a
slightly.
little bit, but I love this. Oh my gosh, I really love this. I love how you did research one, and then when you research,
Girl, you know I had to. You know I
uh,
had to.
I think it's
Y'all,
interesting that they're
so I was like, what are the 8 parts of speech? I had to look that up, girl. I'm hashtag math, but I'm learning.
but I think it's interesting that there are 8 parts of math.
So yeah, and these were 8 parts that would be like for numbers and for functions, and that may be different
Yeah,
if a teacher is looking at another branch of math. Like if I'm looking
yeah,
particularly at geometry, it may be a little bit different, right? I may be
yeah.
looking at sides and angles, and girl, now you're gonna make me check out how many parts I have for geometric figures too.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, but I love it. I love it. I love it. Such a great share. Okay, I guess it's my turn. Now I'm
It's your
smart.
turn.
Okay, so when it comes to 8 parts, I mean I still have Melissa's up here because I'm just admiring all of this beautiful work. And so when it comes to using the 8 parts, we're going to kind of start to look at how we can do this in Kami. So when I go into Kami, I can search for 8 parts. This is the Kami library. And again, there's over 2,000 resources in the Kami library. So maybe this one is the one that I want to use. It's the 8 parts of speech. I'm going to go old school. I did not research like Melissa did. I was just like, I'm going to use what's here. I'm going to use what I know. And Melinda, yes, this is recorded. So you can come back, rewatch, share the episodes with any of your friends. So this is recorded. I know I'm going to have to go back and like rewatch Melissa like 5 times. So yeah, it's going to be on YouTube, same link that you're watching right now. So right here is my 8 parts. And what I love about using this within Kami is, one, I have the directions here. So we've gone over them. Students are going to go through, add their 8 parts of speech. They're going to create one paragraph, and then they're going to make sure that it kind of goes along with that fun image, meme, GIF, whatever you decide to use. And then again, I love the repetition because every time our students do something, they're going to get better and better at it. So the first thing I'm going to do is, step 1 is I found this template in the Kami library. Step 2, though, I want to get rid of this second template. So I'm going to come into this little box and go to split and merge. I love split and merge because I could merge resources from my Google Drive with this activity, or I can go ahead and just delete that page number 2 real quick because I just want this page 1. Also, right here, this little button that has like the 2 papers, I can clone, clone, clone. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's my spiral review. And I love this because my students can go back and they can find some examples of their work, and they can decide which one was maybe their best work that they want me to look at. I'm going to export this, and I'm going to go ahead and open this right into Kami. So again, I've got my days of the week, and I can open this right into Kami. And once I do that, I'm able to use the comment tool, and I could use a video or audio if I wanted to give those directions. So again, I can click record my audio explaining this concept and what I expect for my students to do. Once I add anything on top of this to support my learners, I'm ready to assign this to my learning management system. You can do this in Canvas, Google Classroom, Schoology, even Microsoft Teams. So because Melissa is a Canvas district, I'm going to go ahead and cater to her today. So again, you can use it in multiple LMSs. Probably should have picked Google Classroom because sometimes my Canvas one takes forever to load. And I only have 7 minutes. So once it loads, I'm able to assign this template right to my students, which is going to be just great because once I do that, there's some amazing features built right in. So right here is my class, and I can come in here to my assignments. Once I'm in my assignments, I can click on this blue, and I can create a brand new assignment. So I can call this 8 parts. And I could put the week, so that way we know that it's a certain week long. And then right here, I'm going to go to external tools and I find Kami. Once I find Kami, I add that assignment into my Canvas class and I can assign it to my students. So I'm going to go to my Google Drive. And I'm going to probably go to most recent. That way I can find it. And right here is the document, 8 parts of speech. I'm going to go ahead and attach that for my students. Now, right here on feature controls, you can turn off copy and paste. So if you have students that are copying and pasting from Google their stories, you can turn that off. And once I'm ready to hit OK, attach it. It's going to attach that file for my students. And if you're anything like me, you might forget to add something. This happens to me all the time. So my student's going to go to their 8 parts. Okay, and I'm like, yeah, class, go to your 8 parts, right? I'm really excited about this activity. And once they go into their Canvas class, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, Schoology, it doesn't matter what learning management system you use. They go to their assignments. They find that 8 parts down here. I think it posted. I don't think I posted it yet. Let's see here. I agree, Tara. That copy and paste is amazing. I forgot to save and publish. So let me save and publish it real quick. My student comes in. Let me have them refresh. And once my students refresh, they're able to find that 8 parts. Looks like I might need a refresh again. Man, the internet today. Melissa jinxed me. I was having a great computer technology day until I got on with her. And then I don't know what happened. Let me see if I have a different version. I know, Melissa definitely jinxed me. Okay, so let's see if it will open up. We might need a student though to open it up first. Okay, let's see if it's loaded yet. There it is, finally, yay. Okay, so I can load this up in a new window. My students come in and they're like, Miss Howe, you forgot the photo, right? So there's gonna be no photo once this loads. And I'm like, oh no, I forgot the photo, right? Oh wait, there is a photo on here. But maybe there wasn't the photo on here. I can go into my class, hit update all, and push out that photo to my students. So if I forgot a resource, a scaffold, something, I can add that in and push that out to my students on the screen. Every single student in my class is going to get that resource. They're going to see that photo, and then I don't have to delete that assignment and retry, which is great, right? Again, I can go in, see their work using class view. So when I click open class view, I'm going to be able to see all of my students at the same time. And so what I love to do as well is I might notice that some of my students are really struggling with verbs. And so what I can do is I can come in here and drop down little hints for them. I can use this comment tool. Go to the verbs, click it, type, the definition. Here's some examples. I can save this to my annotation bank so that when student Olivia logs in, I can send out that resource to that student. So for example, I'm going to have student Olivia log in, and Olivia won't have this hint, this scaffold about verbs. Another thing is when this student logs in and they see that definition, now they're ready to get working. They can look at that definition, look at some of those examples and say, oh, running, okay, after, right? So Emma was running after the bus yesterday. It shows an action, okay? So I can really think about what verbs, right? Like maybe jumping jacks or whatever. And my students can add their words right onto the screen. I can see those live as they're working. And so again, if other students are on here, only the student that I propped that resource, that scaffold, that support to will get that resource on their paper. Another great thing about this is I can come in and I can click on that green button again. So just like I clicked that green button to add our photo, send it out to every single student, I can also use that green button. And what I can do is if I'm trying to teach my students 8 parts and they just haven't mastered it just yet, I can come in, use this green button, and say computers down, right? And as a class, we come up with some verbs. So I grab my text box, I'm on my nice little interactive board, writing down verbs. I come in here and I start writing down adverbs. So again, I can come in, we as a class are thinking about these words, running, smiling, jumping, okay? And as we're thinking of these words, I can hit this update all, update, and guess what? When I go back into class view, when I click on this purple button now, it's going to take me into class view where I can see my students. They get those updates in real time. So again, version 1, we can have our students collaborate together with us. Activity number 2, you could have your students do it all alone or maybe later down as you are slowly allowing that scaffold to go away. And then as my students have all of those 8 parts, all of their stories should be a little bit different. Even though they have similar words, their stories could be very, very different. And that's what's so exciting about seeing it in class view, seeing it live. Student Olivia should be joining us now. And so again, if another student was struggling with something else, I can come in. Only student Stephanie has that scaffold, but I could go to my annotation bank and be like, oh, we're really struggling with verbs. Drag this right here, and that student gets that hint about verbs right on their screen, and they can begin to work. Another idea that you might want to do with your students is they might want to collaborate. So right here, this student might want to collaborate with student Stephanie. I can assign it to just certain students, and the student that's in charge will go up here to the file, share the file, copy this link once they change the link to anyone in their domain. They paste that link to that other student. They might email it to them, share it with them. And guess what? We're both on this collaborative document together. And so now my students can collaborate together on this paragraph. They can collaborate on words together. They can use the comment feature and then use the voice comment to read their story out loud to practice that fluency. So a lot of different ideas to kind of help your students. You're able to monitor to know which students you're going to send out those little supports to remind them, hey, just a reminder, the definition, and here's an example, and your students will get those live. Okay, Melissa, did I go over? You're like, yes.
I'm sure you did, but I just stopped watching the clock because I was obsessed. So sorry about that. For everyone watching, I cannot talk enough about how awesome ClassView is in Cami. I know that that I talked about Adobe Express, but I got to give Stephanie her props. I absolutely love ClassView. It is a game changer when you're just trying to monitor student work and give that feedback. As a teacher, you're always looking for those times to clone yourself. So instead of you running around the room crazy, you have everybody on ClassView, you're kind of seeing their work, you're able to move around the room, especially if you have a tablet that you can see, and then just pop that comment right in there in real time. And then you can also mimic that if they're not with you, right? So if you have signed something that they're doing at home, you also have that chance to be able to give them that real-time feedback.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
For sure. Okay, so we want to know who won the battle. Is it Adobe or Cami? So Melissa or Stephanie, right? Which one are you hoping to try in your classroom? Feel free to vote in the chat. You don't have to be shy. We will still love you if you don't vote for us.
Don't worry. When Stephanie loses, she will take it well. Trust me. It's okay. She's a good sport.
I don't know. I might cry all night.
Let's see. Now, as you're popping your votes in the chat, just as an FYI, we did include a lot of resources here in the slide deck that we shared. So EduProtocols, does give a lot of templates that are not, Cami or Adobe Express specific. So you have 3 apps that you can possibly use, but they also break down a lot what the strategy is, as well as how it's been tweaked in some classes, which is what I really like about the EduProtocols website. Is down there at the bottom, they give you some examples from classrooms. So definitely check them out. And then Stephanie and I, we popped our resources there in the chat as well. Not in the chat, sorry, in the slide deck as well, just so that you'll be able to refer to them on down the line if you'd like.
And I think what's cool too is here's a math example. It looks like a social studies example. So you can see some other ways that these are used. And there's also little parts. If you're like, my kids can't even read a paragraph, you can start very small with little parts. So that is here. There's also sentence parts as well.
And speaking of your littles, being able to use applications like Adobe Express and Cami, you can kind of sneak videos and audios into those if your students are pre-readers. So being able to do it digitally also allows you to present yourself to students in those assignments in video or audio, so that way they can support them if they're an emergent reader.
Oh, it looks like
it looks like we're tied.
Come on, Michael. Come on.
I appreciate you, Mike. It's looking a little skip right there, but it's okay. Hey, we definitely encourage you to use as many resources as will impact your students 100%. And so please check out Cami, check out Adobe Express, but most importantly, check out the 8-part strategy. Really have your students digging deeper into numbers and into sentences so that they have more in their toolbox to empower their learning.
Yeah, and let us know if you need help or if you want to vote for us. If you're watching the recording, just send me a little message. Say, Stephanie, I voted for you. Would love that.
Oh, or you can send her a little message that says, hey, Stephanie, I voted for Melissa. And that's
no. Oh my gosh, Michael, you would love Cami as a high school teacher. Yes. Okay.
Oh,
You
Michael,
can
you
combine
would.
the two. You can combine the two. Up next is Iron Chef. We'll be back in about a month. So make sure you look out on social media. Adobe.
Tara asked a really good question. So the answer to that is yes. Adobe Express is free for all K-12 teachers and students. And so your students can also use Adobe Express. You can use Adobe Express. What you want to do is contact your ITM department about how you can get it set up in your district, because you need to get the education version for free. There is a public version, right? So if I'm a content creator or I'm a marketer or a graphic designer, I can use Adobe Express too, but it is free for K-12, but it is the education dashboard. So you may want to talk to your ITM department about that, and feel free to reach out to me on social media, Tara, and I'll try and get you some contacts. I'll figure out who in your region would be able to help. For
Yeah.
sure.
And Cami, it's free, and there's also a paid version as well. So it's like a freemium. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. Iron Chef is up next, so maybe we'll have to get some fun chef hats.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I watch so much Food Network, so I'm ready.
Oh, okay. So thanks, guys, for joining us. Have a great night. And again, if you need anything, reach out.